Let's bring our guest in. He's here, and he smells really good.
Bruce Buffer?
Yeah, he smells good.
We got Bruce Buffer, we have Mark Normand coming in later, and we have Ebony K. Williams from Fox News coming in later. But we're going to start with Bruce Buffer.
Very early.
Yes, well, it's a big weekend for Bruce.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi, guys.
How's it going, Bruce? Welcome to the show.
You smell very good, and you're in a three-piece suit early in the morning. It's amazing. Very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's what I do, Jim, but honestly, I'm a bathing suit by day, tuxedo by night kind of guy.
Oh, okay.
Bathing
I'm an
suit?
old-time surfer, brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that right?
Do you still surf?
Not with no ACL on my knee.
Oh, right. You hurt your leg. That's right.
Yeah,
How is it? I remember that.
Yeah. The night of your show. I'm rehabbing. I'm going without the operation. I'm rehabbing 3 hours a day.
Okay. Can you tell people how you heard it? Bruce was doing
I can tell you, I watched it last night.
Oh, you did watch it.
Oh, gosh.
I watched the video, and it was so funny to watch you, Bruce. Like, you realized right away that something was wrong.
Right at the top.
And you were like, fuck it, I got to power through this song.
Yeah.
I still got to perform. He's performing, what song was it?
It was Rebel Yell by Billy Idol. And
It
what
was
happened is-
karaoke.
yeah, no, it was lip sync.
Lip sync. Even better.
So then, and now I've got this whole affliction towards lip sync. If I get a call from LL Cool J, it's going to be, I'm sorry, LL, you're great, but I got to say no.
It's too dangerous.
Yeah, it's too
It's too dangerous.
Well, I jumped at the top of it, and what happened is when you watch the video, Billy Idol jumps at the top, and, you know, I can jump, spin around, kick you in the head, which I can't do right now, but I jumped, and I did a little jump, and I came down, and the stage at the Legalization was in sections. And the left section kind of gave a little bit and caused my foot to slip in my Reebok shoe. Thank you, Reebok. Love you. And the knee just buckled, and it blew. And then I fell like about 50 seconds into it. The knee just gave away. And but I'm like, the show must go on. It was a 3-minute rendition. I did the guitar solo the whole bit, and then I went to get an MRI the next morning. They go, your ACL's gone.
Because you see him shaking the knee out. He's trying to just kind of walk it off. Like, oh, that was just kind of
Yeah.
wonky. Walk it off. But then you realize, like, no, this is bad.
Well, you know, when I was younger and I was kickboxing like crazy, I'd, you know, roll an ankle, hurt the knee, and shake it off and get back in the fight. You know, I guess that doesn't happen anymore. You pass 50 and it's like, forget that. That's not going to happen.
No, but it was fun watching you the next night too, because Bruce was supposed to do me and Matt were out in Vegas doing the podcast, and we come in that night we were doing a night taping, and they were like, yeah, Bruce Buffer canceled because he hurt himself, and John Jones is out of the fight. So you guys just talk now. Oh, it was really a fucking bad one.
Talk about that.
That was a bad one.
You didn't like that one?
No, I didn't.
You weren't prepared?
I was not. That was a rough one.
I felt horrible.
I was okay.
Because I told them, I said, guys, the knee's hurt. I said, get me over to the show. And there was the PR people that made me not go. I was ready to go for you. And then Dana texted or tweeted out a video of me falling down on the stage. And he goes, and this was after Jones' fight was announced, or his cancellation. And he said, this is what my last 24 hours has been like.
Yeah.
Now here's what I'm worried about, guys.
Yeah.
When I did the biggest show in Toronto in front of 55,000 people years ago when Jake Shields fought George St. Pierre, that night I blew my ACL on my right knee announcing George St. Pierre in the octagon.
Well, see, and this is what people who aren't familiar with what you do may not understand. Like, Bruce Buffer obviously is the ring announcer for the UFC. But like
Octagon announcer.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yes, you're thinking of wrestling.
The Octagon announcer for UFC. But he's far and away the most active and animated announcer that there's literally ever been.
Thank you.
You know, the 360 is your trademark. You're in the air, you're jumping, you're an athletic
It's developed
announcer.
too. It hasn't always been like that. Like I was watching last night I was watching an old Don Fry fight, and cause that's what you do at 1 o'clock in the morning when you have no love in your life. You just watch fucking Fight Pass.
That's after you put away the Vaseline and the Kleenex, right?
No, that was before she came over. And I was watching it. I didn't know you had been announcing from like UFC 10 on, and it was so funny just to watch you. It was much mellower and a much more. It's fun to watch now. I enjoy this much more.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that, Jim. But you know, the thing is that announcers concentrate on their voice, and if people ask me what I am, I say, well, I'm a performer. You know, I mean, I'm actually a fan first, announcer second. You know, however you want to put it. But back in those days, and you know, I managed my brother, the legendary Michael Buffer, for 25 plus years now. And if anybody could have copied an announcer, it would have been me, but I never wanted to be Frank Sinatra Jr. You know?
Right.
So I wanted to have my own style, and I told myself that when I get into this, I'm going to develop my own style, and if I don't, then I'm going to get out of it, because I just don't want to be one of those guys that grabs a paycheck and a nice seat and watches the fights. It's not my thing.
Sure.
My thing is the fights, of course, but I want to do so much more as a promoter of the sport the whole bit. Anyway, getting back to it, eventually, instead of standing center, you ever see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid with Robert Redford and Paul Newman?
I don't remember, but I did see it.
Well, there was a scene in there when they're shooting, and Redford is just standing there and trying to shoot, and he can't hit the broadside of a barn. And he looks at Newman, he goes, "Can I move?" And all of a sudden he moves, right? And then he's hitting everything, right? Inside me was like, I needed to move. I don't want to stand center. I needed to move. I got to introduce these fighters the way I would want to be introduced if I was fighting. I know what it's like to stand across and go toe to toe with somebody. So I wanted to throw my whole passion into it, and that's when it started to evolve. When I realized I can do this, I can break out and do that.
Yeah, because you don't want to just be a carbon copy of the brother. Like, you don't want to have your own thing that's kind of close to his. You want it to be. You don't want to. You don't want to go like, let's get ready to fight. That's too close. That's no good.
Let's get ready to is not in my vocabulary.
When you start doing that, when you start spinning around and stuff and get really animated, do the people running the promotion, do they like that, or are they going like, Bruce, like it's not your show. Like, what are you doing?
I probably shocked a few people. The show is not about me by all standards.
Sure.
I am there to enhance the moment for the fighters and the fans, and that's my job, and that's the way I look at it. So I've never had anybody say anything to me. If anything, it's like, can you do a 360? Can you do another one? I go, no, it's one and done. You know, that's how you make things work.
You know what's interesting, actually? That makes me think about the fact that, and it could be your style, I don't know, but when Jim, we took him to WrestleMania a couple years ago. And his big criticism was, he was like, I like the show, I like the, the over-the-topness, but he goes, but there was something about the announcing that just, it felt like it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, because it wasn't in the ring. It was done before they walk in the ring. And I'm like, you need an announcer in the ring. That's a part of it. When the guys are just standing there ready to fight, somebody getting you pumped up. That's my it's one of my favorite parts of the fight is him fucking saying their names. I'm like, I'm just really enjoying it. Yeah, it makes me very happy.
Getting all amped up.
Yeah, you really do.
I gotta tell you what gets me amped is a couple times I've heard Jim after a big UFC. I hear him on a show and he pays homage to me, and it's like, wow. I'm like. Thank you, Jim.
No,
That's
it's
awesome.
great. It's very enjoyable.
So what were you saying about being in front of 55,000 people?
Oh, yeah. Well, see, that was the biggest show ever.
Yeah.
And I forget the number of it, but I had rolled my ankle the week before. I was actually in a poker tournament. I play a lot of poker, and at the break, I hit a dip in the carpet and rolled my ankle, and I wound up going to the hospital because it filled up with blood, and they had to pull blood out of it.
Jesus.
I took third in the tournament, and I won a bunch of money. That was great, but I couldn't stand on my foot.
For someone who's so closely associated to a very dangerous sport, you get injured in silly ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, when I used to really fight, stand toe-to-toe and surf big waves and all, yeah, I've been, knocked out and stuff like that, but I've never, torn tendons and broken bones, and I guess it happens after you pass, 40 or whatever.
I think no other announcer in history has ever gotten hurt making an announcement in the ring. You're the first person to ever get hurt making
I've
an
given
announcement.
2 body parts to the UFC, yay?
Both ACLs.
Yeah, both ACLs.
So you roll your ankle.
So, okay, I rolled my ankle. I couldn't stand on my foot as of that Wednesday. I started to be able to stand on Thursday. Now I take off for Canada, biggest show in the history. I get out there, my adrenaline starts taking over. I turn, I jump, I spin, I do all my normal stuff. And I never plan anything. I never rehearse. I don't stand in the shower and go, Chuck Liddell, as I'm washing my hair. I go out there, I feel the energy of the crowd, I feed off it, and I let it flow. So the show went great. And then I go in to announce George St. Pierre, and I get into his corner, and, George, rush. And then he lunges out, which he's done every time. And I bunny hop back like about 1.5 feet, 2 feet, which I've done every time he's done it. And it didn't occur to me about my ankle. And when I bunny hopped back, my ankle wobbled as it hit the ground and my knee exploded. So it was like, George, rush, St. Pierre! I was like, oh my God! And then I walk over to Herb Dean and I put the microphone under his armpit and I've got my octagon face on. And inside I'm going, you mother effer, you just blew your friggin' knee.
Yeah.
And I get out of the octagon and John McCarthy says, I think you just blew your ACL, and stitched the cut man and gives me a bag of ice, and my pants leg is rolled up. I got ice on my knee. I'm the damn announcer. I'm watching 2 great warriors go at it. What is wrong with that picture?
Yeah.
It's just wrong.
How do the fighters, when you show up and you're in the locker room or backstage or whatever, and you're nursing an injury, but it's from jumping back, or it's from lip syncing to Rebel Yell or whatever. How do the fighters react to you nursing your injuries?
Rashad Evans called me the next day. Stipe Miocic, who was with me that night, and they're like, they thought I was like a stud. They thought it was great, that I just didn't complain. The bottom line is that no matter what their thoughts are, with all respect, these guys are fighters. They're putting their blood, sweat, and tears and their lives on the line. I'm the announcer. The show must go on. I don't complain. Last thing I'm going to do is complain to a warrior about my sore knee. Okay? I don't do that.
Are you comfortable in your position? Or you still get like that? I know I'm out soon. Like, do you always worry that you're going to screw it up? Or are you like, all right, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
I don't quite understand. I mean, as far as
your job, like, are you comfortable in your job? Or
I think
are you,
Jim's, because from our perspective, Jim and I are similar in that way, where we're constantly
I'm never comfortable where I am. I'm afraid I'm going to get fired constantly.
oh
Right.
no, I don't worry about that.
at all.
No,
You're just confident in your ability. Like, this is like, you know, what you're the best at what you do.
Well, I mean, I'll never say that, because that if I say that, I can sound a little cocky, and I like to be very humble about everything. I walk around with strong confidence, so it might not seem that way, you know, sometimes. But I understand where you're coming from with the recent buyout of the UFC. A lot of people have been worried about that, but I've been in the Octagon now. I celebrated my 20th year anniversary back in February. My first show was UFC 8 in Bayamon, Puerto Rico. And then UFC 10 with Don Fry, and 13 on was when I did all the shows from that point. So my thing is, and I do motivational speeches to entrepreneurs and business owners. I was just in Florida yesterday doing one with John Travolta and 50 Cent. And,
Wow.
Yeah, and this big thing they had down there. So one of the things I instill and teach in people that are entrepreneurs is you got to have confidence. If you walk in the room and you do your job with fear that you might not have the job the next day, no offense, guys, but you're not going to do your best job. You know, you need to be in there and say, I'm the best at what I do. Or another way to say is, I'm going to give the best that I can give. And this is my job, and this is what I set out to do. You have passion for what you do, and believe in the stability of your situation.
See, that's our problem. We walk in and we look at each other and go, "You're average," and then he'll say, "So are you," and then we just start.
Well, you guys are far from average. Okay, can I just tell you that if it'll help you out?
Thank you very much.
Jim.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. You know that.
Yeah. Next time I say, next time you say you're average, I'm going to say you are too, and you're like, that's not what Bruce Buffer thinks, and
That's
then we'll
right.
go.
And then we'll
Just
start.
remember, when you tell them you're average, there's no girls in the room. You don't want to confuse their perception. Okay.
That's very true.
Right.
Well, yeah, no, they all understand. I'm far below average.
What was did you spend time with Travolta?
No, actually, he was coming on after I left. I had to catch a plane to New York.
Oh, so it was literally just
Yeah, it was like
ships in the night.
ships in the night passing. Yeah,
Yeah.
They had Calvin Klein down there. They had a bunch of speakers.
I met him I did an interview after he did it somewhere, like with the same people for a different thing.
Who, Travolta or Calvin Klein?
Calvin Klein, and he was. I don't know if he's straight or gay. I've heard mixed. I've heard both. But whoever his assistant was, the guy he was with. I never look at like a man and go like, I could fucking marry that man. It's the best looking human being I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. Maybe he's just a sexual dude.
But I wasn't.
Who, Calvin Klein or his assistant?
His assistant. It's like whoever this person was. I'm like, this is probably the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my life.
Right. There's no gender role
It was
for this.
humiliating
Yeah.
as a man to
Find
realize that's
yourself-
my genetic competition.
But there's nothing wrong with appreciating the beauty of another human being, male or female. You know, obviously, you know, I know you're straight as straight can be. So,
Well,
well,
Yeah, in an arrow kind of way. In an arrow kind of way.
Yeah.
don't let those thoughts confuse you. Is all I'm saying, Jim.
Like you know how when somebody the javelin throw, you know, there's javelins, they're very like straight, right?
Yeah.
Jim is like a javelin, but like the one that Lamar and
kinda like goes like
Revenge
this.
of the Nerds.
In midair, it wobbles.
It's wobbling. It's
It
wobbling.
lands where it's supposed to, but you really have no clue where it's going to land. Yeah,
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I didn't say anything to him. We met, and then I just caressed his face for a second. And I think I weirded him out.
How'd you get into or how does one, I guess, get into the motivational speaking game? Because I've seen people do that, and that's a huge business.
Yeah, it's a huge business, and I work with some key speakers. But I've always loved helping people better themselves, helping people make money, helping people be happy. I have a 3-foot theory. If I, like right now, if I can do the show well enough that you guys, you know, everything goes great for you, you have good ratings, it's successful, your paycheck's cash, I don't think about myself. I think about everybody else, and then karmically, I know it'll all come back to me. Mm-hmm. So I really get off being a public speaker. I've done it since my 20s. I own a nutritional company. I went in a competition against a company called Herbalife. Remember Herbalife? So I started a company called Herbal Care with my partner, and I used to travel the country doing motivational speeches, teaching the benefits of nutrition, how to feel better, feel great, make money in the process, you know, become a product of the products, and that was the start of my whole motivational one. And I just got off on seeing people happy, and when they write back and say, hey, you know, you helped me, I'm feeling great, my bank account's bigger, I'm making money, my organization's growing, that I'll be the first one to always cash a paycheck on a Monday. Trust me, I'll be at the bank for anybody. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'm not about the paycheck. You know, I like to enjoy what I do, and I love seeing people happy. And if I can have an effect on that, a positive effect, then just I get off on
See,
that.
we're about the paycheck. Like, we look at each other, all we see is dollar signs.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I go, Jim. I hope the next special is super successful.
The biggest thing I can tell you is that whether it's a girlfriend I'm dating or whatever, I'm passionate. I'm Italian, maybe it's because of my heritage, whatever, but I like to have passion for what I do, and if I don't, then it's nothing I want to do.
What is your opening when you start? I can never motivationally speak because it would frighten me that I would just not move anybody. Like, because you're
That's the insecurity again.
It absolutely
You'd be like,
is.
everybody's looking at me going, he's a failure.
You're
Why
not
would we
motivating
listen
us.
to him?
So
why?
What do you motivate them to do? Like you like say that it's a room full of people you don't know. Like, I know I got to go up there and fuck around and make them laugh. But if you're motivating them, how do you know you're motivating them?
Well, all motivational speakers, whether you're Zig Ziglar from the past or you're Tony Robbins or whatever, a lot of us, in a way, we're all kind of saying the same thing. We just say it in our own way. And the biggest thing, I believe, as a motivational speaker, and I teach branding and marketing. That's my main thing, is, excitement about what you do. Teach branding and marketing because branding's my gig. I'm a marketer first and foremost. But the bottom line is if the people in the audience get a positive effect from you for 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, or 1 year, you've done your job. It's up to them to take what they get from you and to make it work for them.
You just have to firmly believe what you're saying. You know it to be true.
Yeah, I do not lie. I'm the most honest person in the world, and of course I could be lying through my teeth telling you
Yeah,
that.
sure.
Right? But
No liar would admit it. That's true.
Yeah, but I will tell you that the reason I play poker is because it's legal to lie at the poker table. I get my eyes out on the poker table. You can be my best friend. I'm taking all your chips.
Right.
Okay? And I'll lie through my teeth to get them. Bottom line.
So you said you are a good poker player. That means you make a decent amount playing it, or now do you not do it like for money?
I play when I have time. I was voted there's a Card Player magazine is the biggest magazine and website out there for poker players. I got voted the #8 best celebrity poker player in the world about 5 years ago. And then below me was, I'll tell you who's #1. This will surprise you. Gabe Kaplan. Welcome back, Cotter.
No, he did that professionally for years. Yeah, that's not. I've heard for years he's a great. Didn't he work for Jack Ruby at one point too?
I don't know.
Years ago in the '60s when he was doing stand up, he did. I think
The guy that shot Oswald?
Yeah, I think Gabe Kaplan did one of his clubs in the '60s.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know why. I've only met Gabe a couple of times. I've never asked him.
You should.
No, because I don't know if that's like I don't know if he's in the right age group for that, so I feel like an asshole. He's like, no, I was 15
Like
when
you're
that
just
happened,
dating him?
dickhead. Yeah.
The other guys below me were Tobey Maguire, Ben Affleck,
wow.
Jennifer Tilly.
So you have a good poker.
Nick
Sorry to
Kessler.
interrupt you. You have a good poker face because whenever you get whenever there's a split decision, and you look at it, you seem to never give away who is about to win.
That's
the
a good
fight.
point.
No,
Yeah.
no, I can't. That's part of the poker face helps when I'm in the octagon. I mean, sometimes I get that decision from these guys, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the first one to see it beside the commission.
So you have had that moment where you're like, you got to be kidding me. Were we watching the same fight?
I can't begin to tell you how many times. And you guys can name the fights. There's key fights that have happened just in the last couple of years.
Sure.
It's like, but my job is I'm the messenger. Don't kill the messenger. I got to go out and do my thing. And then people will say, the tweet out, well, he's standing. He always stands behind the winner. Dude, I've got 2 people to stand behind. I mean, I can only switch up so many times. Sometimes I'm behind the winner. Sometimes I'm behind the loser. And then the key thing is to bring out the drama when the decision comes out.
What do you do if it's the week of a pay-per-view and you wake up with a sore throat?
I've done this show with laryngitis. I've done it with sore throat, 104-degree temperature, blown out back, blown out knees.
I'd be so worried that my voice was going to crack, though. Like, if I had a sore throat, because if you have a sore throat and you're like, I think I can get through it, and then you yell, your voice cracks, and I mean, you're done.
Well, in the early days, singers, they bring it from here, right?
Okay,
And in the early days,
the chest.
the chest. That's where mine comes from. So I've learned that you learn your tool. You perfect your tool, right? So in the early
Jim was
days,
working on his tool last night.
Yes, I was. Just perfecting it.
it's a lifelong ambition, isn't it?
Trying to polish out the wrinkles.
Or create a few. So, like in the early days, it was the first Japan show. Randy Couture fought, and when I was bringing it from my throat, I cracked. And this is one of the most embarrassing things I ever did. It was like, Randy Couture! It went like that, all 25,000 people in the Japan arena, whatever it was. It was quite embarrassing at that point. So you just learn how to perfect your art, like anything else. It is, I mean, announcing is not rocket science, okay? But the trick is to make it look easy, and to do what you do. And I just try to do what I can.
Do you get, because you grew up fighting. So when you see, does that, I guess it wouldn't be in you maybe anymore, but at first when you're the announcer, are you looking at the fighters going like, that's where I should be?
Honestly, if I was in my 20s,
Yeah.
training the way I was, I know when I was doing a lot of kickboxing, I wanted to have a professional fight, just to say I had a professional fight. If I was back in my 20s and like, you know, in the mid 90s when this was happening and I was training, I'm sure I would have had that thought of ambition like a lot of guys do. Whether I would have set out to do it or not, I don't know. But the one thing I do know is I understand fighters' mentalities. I understand what it takes to be a fighter. It's the loneliest job in the world because really, bottom line, when that cage closes, it's just you. You know, no matter who your team is, it's just you. So my respect for these great warriors, male and female both, is what drives me. One of the many things that drive me to do what I do, to travel and be on the road for 40-plus weeks a year doing UFCs and giving up and sacrificing relationships and seeing my family as much as I want to. You know, you're on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And you know, there is a sacrifice to doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have no family, so it's like I have my parents, but I don't have anybody, you know, anybody I'm close to, so just me in the hotel, no different to my apartment. just me alone, just making sure I'm looking at the right back page city.
Creating wrinkles in hotel rooms all over the world.
Did you really do a wedding?
Oh, yeah, no, I do. You know what it is on my site? I guess I got to plug BruceBuffer.com. The fans go there, and I have a special. I've been paid ridiculous money to do like championship introductions, but weddings, I've done over a couple hundred weddings. I did Michael Bisping's wedding. I've actually married, you know, people, but I record them walking into the reception.
I'd love, by the way, to meet Michael Bisping's wife. That's like really. Like you can't leave work at work for one day. I can't have one day. We got to bring in UFC into the wedding.
You wonder if she had to be talked into that.
Yeah. That'd be like me being like, Jess, good news. Jim is going to marry us. Like, really, Sam? Like,
well, you know, if you go on YouTube and you put in my name, put in weddings, you'll see where they've videotaped the recordings I've done. I've also done them in front of a green screen so they can play them on their video thing. And the main thing is to introduce the wedding party in, you know, the bridesmaids, the grooms, play it up, and then the bride and groom come in. It's like, and now, you know, walking down the aisle of love forever, and give them the big, big introduction. I've done birth of babies. You know, coming out now.
No.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like you're in the room as the baby.
Well, I mean, they'll send me a script and I'll record it, and they'll document the day, the birth of their child. You know, which is it makes me feel really cool.
What's the weirdest request you've gotten? You had to get something that you're like, I can't.
You know, I'll get something laced with curse words, and it's just disrespectful, and it's not who I am,
right.
And it's like, I have a problem because morality's going to hell in a handbasket in this country as it is. I don't want to cater to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll say no to those things.
So you don't want to like a guy and his girlfriend, and now inserting himself into you.
Well, I could actually do that in a way that it would work. Yeah,
right.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, no problem.
The winner, not her.
I just don't want to be in the room doing it live. You know, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim would. He'd love to be in that room
Oh, yeah,
live.
certainly would.
So have you had any requests that you did aside? I guess the baby being born one is pretty odd.
That's pretty odd.
That's probably the weirdest one.
But strangely enough, I've done 4 of them in the last 2 months.
Really?
Yeah.
And now that you're talking about it more, people are probably going to be like, "It's a great idea."
It's okay. I'm all for it. Go to, again, here's my plug. Go to BruceBuffer.com. I'm there to please.
So now go to BruceBuffer.com. I want to see what our options are as far as
what the catalog is.
Yeah.
The catalog available.
Is that what people do? They like look and they go, all right, I want you to do this.
Well, here's the one. Like you can click. There's the personalized intro. And then it's real simple. It's for $99. You fill out a simple form, bing, bang, boom. It goes through PayPal, and you have it back in a week.
And you have, I guess you have all the equipment at home, and you just bang out a few a day?
Yeah, just bang them out. I banged out like about 12 before I got on the plane to Orlando the other day.
That's good. That's a nice little side hustle.
You know,
that's not bad.
It's all about how monetizing your brand.
Yeah.
Right. But in this case, I mean, believe me, I've been paid a lot more than that. I made it real cheap because the MMA UFC fans are so great. And they love their sport. They live, eat, and breathe the sport. So I want to give back to them, you know, and this is my way of doing it.
At what point, when you start like...
I also give part of this to charity, too.
You do?
Yeah.
When you're Octagon announcing, though, at what point do you decide to turn it into a brand, to turn it into a business? Is that because... When you started, did you know your brother? Because you didn't meet your brother until you were later in life. You've told that story many times.
Yeah, we met when I was basically about 29 years old, but... I had already been managing his career for like 4 years before I got into the Octagon.
So you saw what you can do as an announcer, and how you can brand that and turn it into a
was he
business.
doing nothing with it? Like he had this great announcement. Was he just not making money off it or not owning it?
Michael hadn't even had a T-shirt or a hat with "Let's Get Ready to Rumble" on it, and I was at a fight.
Did he own the phrase yet?
Not when we met.
Wow.
And I used to push him to trademark it. And then he did get a trademark out east here with an attorney, but it wasn't strong enough. So when I decided, I owned 2 companies and I was making great money and I had lost my passion, get back to passion. I was burned out. I lost my passion for what I do. I had the beach house, the whole bit, just living a great life. But I would get to work or wake up for work and it's like I hated what I was doing, even though the checks were substantial. So when I was at the Riddick-Bowe Evander Holyfield fight, the first one at the Thomas Mack Center, I think it was November 12th, 1993. And I had an epiphany go off it, and it just like, let me dedicate full time to this. I wanted to be his partner, his manager, and we had a discussion about it. And I said, listen, I'll sell both companies. I'll quit with the money I have in the bank. I'm going to make you richer and more famous than you ever dreamed. I'm going to roll the dice here because I could be making the worst choice of my life. And I'm going to make you in every area of sports and entertainment. We're going to trademark this phrase properly and make video games and toys and all this. And he looked at me, he's like, how are you going to do all that? In shortened version of so many words.
Sure.
And I said, look, if I'm going to give all this up, you better believe I'm going to make this happen. And that was my whole goal. And then when the UFC came on the scene, my job was to get my client, my brother, my family member who I love dearly, every job I could possibly get him. So I cold called the UFC, and I actually got him to announce UFC 6, 7, and Ultimate. And the very first show in Casper, Wyoming, we were having dinner that night, and the owner, Robert Meyerowitz, who I credit for giving my job in the Octagon, I owe him a lot. And I basically heard him say, well, now, Michael, when you get in the Octagon tomorrow night, we want you to say if it's not in the Octagon, it's not real. Now, he's been doing WCW wrestling.
Right.
And we have this huge contract with WCW, where he does Hulk Hogan and Sting and all those guys.
Yeah,
So-
they used to bring him in. They used to bring in Michael Buffer to just do the main event of
Exactly.
the night. And it always did. It made it feel like,
Right.
oh, this is a big
Like,
mainstream
It made it feel
deal.
probably more legitimate too.
Absolutely.
Legitimization, the whole bit. Michael loved that.
Yeah.
Right? He would do Monday Night Nitros, the whole bit. And the paycheck was huge. And I got him a real good deal. So I knew when he said that I was probably going to get a call on a Monday. Lo and behold, they called me on the Monday. Bruce, what are you doing? You got him doing this Ultimate Fighting thing? And he says that? Because this is back in the days when Hulk Hogan punched you 25 times in the face. We thought it was real, or we were supposed to think it was real because they tried to make you think it was real. It was before sports entertainment.
And the
came into
advertising
it.
behind UFC in the very beginning
Somebody's
was,
going to die.
and it's real.
And it's real.
With the implication being, don't buy that wrestling shit. It's fake. This is real.
They were capitalizing on that whole thing. So suddenly you're adversarial. So then long story cut short, I agreed to only have him fulfill his 3 fights. And honestly, Michael could not have continued on the way the UFC grew with everything else in his career. So then it was out, and I called Robert Meyerowitz, and I basically said, you need a buffer in the Octagon. I've got the media contacts. I believe in this. And honestly, guys, from the beginning, even though it was raw and it was a spectacle, I knew it was going to be the biggest thing in fighting sports.
It was definitely different, though. You watch some of the older ones, the old Pride fights. I watched an old fight last night. Again, that's what I was just doing last night. It was Alistair Overeem, Chuck Liddell from like 2001 or 2003. Fucking knees to the head on the ground, like things that you just don't see anymore. It was really brutal.
Well, watching Mark Coleman, dropping headbutts into people was one of the greatest things in the world. It was amazing to watch all that stuff.
But even in the production value, it doesn't feel like this is going to be the phenomenon that it is now.
No, but branding and marketing, you have to have a foresight. You have to be able to foresee or think about what could happen in the future. And just like when I saw my brother, and again, I just saw the date, November 13th, 1992 was that Riddick-Bowe Holyfield fight. I went back to my room that night and incessantly wrote 3 pages of notes of what I could do with Michael. And that's when it set myself out on the goal. When I first saw the UFC come on the scene, I knew that with certain tweaking and rules being refined and everything else, and especially after I got to go to a couple of the shows, that this literally could be the biggest thing ever in sports. It was the fastest growing pay-per-view happening at the time or in history when it came out. Back then in the beginning, they were doing 250,000 buys. And then, McCain and all that process took place, and DirecTV and the internet kept us alive. I stuck with it. It's the old story. When you believe in something, just like when you're doing in the Roach Coach motels and the comedy clubs in your early time of your career, you had to stick with it. you knew was going to, I'm sure you believed that you were going to make it to where you made it. I mean, I would hope you
Or
would.
you just had no other life skills.
I think you're both kind of correct. I hoped that I would make it, but I really had nowhere else to go.
Right.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school. I left myself no net. It wasn't like I had a law career to fall back on. I was like, all right, well, it's this or the Verrazano Bridge.
But when I do the motivational stuff, I mean, the bottom line is you either believe in yourself or you don't. If you don't believe in yourself, when you get knocked on the canvas, you're not going to have the wherewithal to get up and fight to get back and be successful. So passion and belief and focus.
And what do you think of talking about USADA and the drugs and stuff? And John Jones is out for a year, and it was just a Cialis. It was a dick pill. I mean, it seems like a bit of a harsh punishment, knowing that he wasn't trying to enhance his. Maybe it wasn't the smartest move, but it's like the guy's not cheating. He's not.
No, I know. We all have our opinions on that, but rules are rules, and that until the rules are changed, it's like marijuana is certainly, in my opinion, not a PED.
Right.
But eventually, hopefully, it'll be taken off the PED list. I don't believe you should smoke it the night of a fight. If not the night before, but if you're training all day and you want to go home and smoke a fatty, that's your choice.
But do you think that you shouldn't smoke it the night before a fight, and it should be punishable, or it's just not a smart thing to do?
Well, I think you should still be tested. I mean, in respect to the fighter you're fighting, I don't think you should be allowed to, THC up before you go out for a fight. I think you're actually endangering yourself.
Right.
Or you lie on the mat like Nick Diaz and put your hand, your head in one hand and lie and look at your opponent. Remember that fight he had?
Yeah.
I was cracking up at that. But not to say that was the case that night. But you never know what's going to take place. You're an athlete. You're out there to do your best.
I saw on your Twitter. You're an advocate for marijuana legalization?
Yeah. It's not that I'm not saying I smoke it.
Right.
There's three things in life that I believe should be legalized. One is marijuana. Mm-hmm. Two is prostitution. Mm-hmm. It'll never go away. I mean, even in Germany, it's legal, and in other countries, and they do great by it. And the third is online poker. And the reason I say this is because
you're a fun guy. That's why you say that.
Well, legalizing these three items, which will never go away and will be around forever, you're taking it out of the hands of the bad guys. In respect to, like, say, prostitution, you're cleaning it up. You're taking disease off the street. You're basically taxing the hell out of these three items that will bring a tremendous amount of income into our government, which we need, right? I don't think Trump's going to make this decision tomorrow, but
no.
These are just things that will never go away. So why not clean them up and make them so they're righteous?
Are you allowed to sports gamble, or because you're involved with the sport, you're not allowed to at all?
I've never been told that I can't bet on a fight, but I do not bet on fights. I love placing some action on a football game, watching. Of course, I play the poker, but I want to go in that octagon, and I want to be an equal opportunity announcer. I don't want to even sit down and think, "Well, I just put a bet on GSP, and maybe I need to announce him a little loud." No, that's not my thing. I want to keep it pure, and that's my way of just respecting the sport.
You got money on one guy, so you're just trying to motivate him with his introduction. And the other guy, and he's fighting. I don't know. Let's just start.
Yeah.
And you're reading the split decision and the winner. Oh, fuck.
I don't think it would look good in Vegas. I'm at the MGM Sportsbook, and I'm placing a bunch of bets on the UFC that night.
No, it probably wouldn't.
It probably would tip the odds.
Yeah.
The fight is tomorrow. The pay-per-view. It's on. It's UFC 205. It's from Madison Square Garden, so it's a huge.
The first
show.
one here in New York.
Yeah, finally legalized in New York.
Amazing.
That's. I mean, speaking of legalization, the fact that it took this long for this state to legalize MMA is absurd.
Well, I think we all know why. And once that politician was out, everything kind of ran smooth.
Very quickly, too.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this is the biggest show in history, which goes back to my worry I was trying to tell you earlier. When there's a big show, okay, I blew my ACL in Toronto. UFC 200, I blew my ACL before 3 shows leading up to UFC 100 and the other knee. I am being very careful until I walk in that octagon tomorrow night in the Garden, guys. I'm not going to, when I'm done all the press I have to do today, I'm going to go back, finish my fight cards, play some online poker, and get 12 hours of sleep. And get ready for the biggest show of my life.
When did you get here? Today?
I got here last night.
So, you weren't at the press conference? Conor McGregor
I watched
fucking
it.
throw a chair at Eddie Alvarez.
What a great press conference
Comes
that
in
was.
a mink coat. Yeah, he really is. People want to see him kill Eddie, or they want to see him get knocked the fuck out. He really has a great way of getting people invested.
He's got the 50-50 split, or however it works out. People that want to see him lose, people want to see him win. What does that mean? They all buy the pay-per-view.
Right?
Yeah. It's
and
great.
they're talking about him there was articles that came out this week referring to him as possibly the new Ali, just because of the way he talks up these fights. And it really is funny the way language has changed, because Ali, he wouldn't curse, but he was always very combative. And now Conor McGregor walks in, and they're like, "Why were you late?" "'Cause I don't give a fuck."
Yeah.
Because he's just out of his mind.
I love Conor.
I love him too.
I'm not crazy about that kind of activity. I don't think you should be late for press conferences and all this. And when you say I don't give an F, it's kind of disrespectful for the people that do. But this is Conor's allure, you know. And here he is walking in, you know, with a Gucci mink coat and
taking Eddie Alvarez's title belt.
Eddie had left the stage because he was like, "Well, when Conor gets here, let me know." So he did. When Conor walked in, he just went over and took Eddie's belt off his side. That's kind of annoying.
You know, the great thing about Conor is he and Ronda. Let's say there's every half dozen years there's somebody that comes along with what I call the it factor, and Conor McGregor has the it factor. Whether he's going to be better than Muhammad Ali, that's a big task. Muhammad Ali was the greatest, okay?
Because, by the way, Muhammad Ali wasn't just a talker. It was because he was also the greatest boxer.
The greatest boxer, and, you know, there's just so much more about Muhammad Ali that nobody can even touch. But Conor's creating a legacy for himself and a legendary status for himself, and let's face it, the guy's incredible. And it's incredible to watch him fight, and it's incredible to announce him. I love the guy.
Did you hear how he responded when Eddie asked him for an apology?
No.
He replied to Eddie that Eddie could feel free to put his Irish balls in his mouth.
Did he say that?
Yeah, he did.
My big Irish sack.
Yeah. That's what he said. With his mink, and they're throwing chairs around the stage. I mean, I tell you.
Yeah, but you know what people are really loving about this too is that Dana, you know, they're all talking about how Dana just picked him up with one arm, moved him around, you know, the whole bit.
Yeah, it's great.
Dana's a tough guy. Don't screw around with Dana.
And it adds credibility when the guy who's in charge is a guy that looks like he would be a problem too. You know what I mean? You're not going to some weasel in a suit telling the fighters what to do. Nobody wants to watch that.
You know, remember back when Dana was going to fight Tito Ortiz in a boxing match?
Yes.
It's like, you know, I never thought about that with Don King or especially Bob Arum, but that could have gone out two ways. The promoter, owner, beats the toughest man in the world. That doesn't say very much about the guys fighting in the sport.
Yeah.
Then Tito beats Dana. Let's say if it came out that, then it's just like, I think it was a lose-lose kind of thing. I'm glad it never happened.
Yeah, some of those things are fun in theory, but then like you do the one boxer fight, then you're done with it. No more circus stuff.
I think this girl made a big impression at the press conference right here.
Who is she?
Let's listen to her. She's beautiful.
She's just a regular girl?
Yeah.
He was disappointed in the country of Ireland. What do you think about that?
I don't give a fuck what Eddie says. Who gives a fuck? The Irish are back. We've taken back control of New York City. I run New York City. I'm a fucking pimp. Fucking Gucci mink. And without me, this whole fucking ship sink.
So good.
I wonder what goes on in Dana's head when he hears him put out a line like that.
Just had a 5-round battle with Nate Diaz in a short turnaround. Are you ready for this fight?
I'm fresh, ready to go. I look forward to it. I'm going to shut this man up. Trust me on that.
I have to imagine, you can hit pause for a second, Adrian. I have to imagine that Dana loves this because this is what got pro
TMZ.
wrestling.
It's on TMZ. Fucking, it's people. This really makes people who don't watch the sport want to know who this asshole is and why is he doing this.
He has brought eyeballs to this sport
Yes.
that have not been brought to the way Ronda brought female eyeballs and other eyeballs to the sport. When I walk around and the talk that I get from people and people I know that never even watch the UFC and they're talking to me about Conor McGregor, that's a game changer. Conor McGregor is a game changer. And
He's a household name, and there's not that many household names.
I said a while back that he will be the first fighter in UFC to earn $100 million. And,
wow.
And then I remember that Lorenzo Fertitta came out and said the same thing a week or so later. And right now I think the figure, he's almost at 40. He's easily going to be at $100 million by the end of, I would say, not next year, but the year after.
20.
I hear he spends quite a bit, though. I don't know Conor, but I hear he has quite a fun life.
That's where you got to be careful. But you know, I think
is mink expensive? Because he said he's got a mink coat.
Yeah,
on.
you wonder if he bought that or if it's just on loan. You hope so, because he didn't
that's
treat
what
it very
Alvarez
well.
said. Did you hear that's what
No,
Alvarez? Because he had the tags hanging from it when he walked in. Alvarez says, he goes, "You rented that."
Yeah, he's got the receipt in the pocket.
Called him out on his prop.
I'm
ready
sure
to
Conor
return
bought
it.
it. You know, Conor's making so much money. I would venture to guess that aside from, you know, I don't see him. I see him as spending a lot of money on his clothes, and his flash, and his bling. But hopefully, unlike other athletes that we've seen, and let's face it, 85% of them go broke 5 years after they retire. I hope that does not happen to Conor. I mean, he's making so much money. You got to be an idiot to spend that much money.
But honestly, like the money that he spends on clothes is an investment in that. Like, you know, you want to think that a fighter is just going to get paid strictly for their performance in the octagon, but the fact of the matter is, part of him getting as many eyes as he gets on the show and being responsible for as many pay-per-view buys as he is that flash factor.
No question. But, you know, again, we get back to branding. Okay, he's branding himself. This is his brand. He can't stop with that. He gets into New York and he has 2 Rolls Royces, one with his name on it. You know,
where on the car is his name?
It's right. It says the Notorious right on the whole side of the car. He's driving it all over.
Just a little subtle place under the handle. No.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was a personalized
there
plate.
you go, right there. There it is.
Oh, he got a
my
Rolls
God.
Royce and put his face on it. Yeah,
He put his face on it?
his face is all over the back door. It says
Right there.
Notorious.
See it right there?
Wow.
So across the entire, it's the left side of the car. Across the entire side of the car, it says the word Notorious, and then there is a giant Conor McGregor face right at the back of the back
That's
door.
bad. That's bad though, because everyone's gonna know it's you. You know how much I would hate to have my face on the side of my car? They'd be like, "Why is Jim Norton riding around the same block all night?"
Let me tell you a couple of things why I respect Conor McGregor so much. Back in I think it was Dublin, I did a show years ago, right? And this young, like 19-year-old kid comes up to me, no beard, and he goes, "My name is Conor McGregor. Remember it. You're going to be announcing me someday." I go, "Okay, great. I get that all the time, right?" The guy had the fortitude and the foresight to get to where he believes in himself.
That's that confidence we were talking
The confidence factor is huge. And Conor is a very intelligent young man. He's sharp. You know, he's not so much rehearsed as others. Like, I think Chael Sonnen was a great trash talker, but he's rehearsed.
Yes.
Okay? He's not rehearsed.
I mean, Chael Sonnen was literally doing the pro wrestling promos that he saw when he was a kid.
He's brilliant at it.
And he was bringing him to the octagon. He was great.
Yeah.
But that's what he was doing.
Was he really rehearsed? He didn't feel rehearsed to me. I guess I just didn't catch.
He was doing
that.
superstar Billy Graham stuff. Like,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
okay.
I guarantee you that a few of those lines out of Chael's mouth were practiced the night before. I have no doubt about it.
You can find them on YouTube, like the wrestlers that did them in the 70s and 80s.
okay.
And, yeah,
Not
definitely.
taking anything away from Chael, because Chael's brilliant in what
Sure.
he did. But Conor brings that whole. It's like everything goes to a next level. Conor's the next level.
Yeah,
You know?
he just announced the Irish were taking back New York like it was gangs of New York.
Yeah, I've never
again.
heard a fighter threaten or say to put your bag in somebody else's mouth.
Yeah, let's listen to some more of the press
That's really
conference because he
great.
was really awesome.
New York City News Service. My question's for Eddie. My question's for Eddie Alvarez. Khabib has said that he hopes you win the fight, so because you won't duck him if you win. Do you have any ideas on what's next for you if you do beat Conor?
After I beat Conor and silence the country of Ireland, I'm gonna have a couple pina coladas. You have to look for me somewhere.
Eddie does a good job, but it's so hard to match confidence.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Is there any truth to the idea that you want to retire after this fight, or are you going to take time off?
I'm only warming up. He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to. Take all them belts. I'll take all them belts over there.
It's hilarious.
Just moving weight class to weight class.
Conor, you're here. Everybody's
It's weird
excited.
because
Just
I'm
curious,
watching
where
this.
were you?
I
Why
like Eddie
play
Alvarez a lot, so I kind of want to see him really flatten.
You do?
Oh yeah.
I just don't want to. But I don't want to. I don't want the talking to stop ever.
Well, the talking will never stop. He lost to Nate Diaz. The talking
That's
to
true.
stop.
No, that's a good point.
You're dealing with the toughest fighting arena in the world, the proving ground of champions beyond any other ring or square ring or whatever is the octagon for fighters, okay? Not that boxers aren't fighters. They're boxing. These are fighters getting in there using every form of fighting there is. It just is what it is.
We got to let you go, but before we do, because you got a big day at press, Bruce Buffer. But Frank in the Bronx has a question for you. What's going on, Frank? You there, buddy?
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Now
we
we
got
can.
you.
Hi, Frank.
Hey, guys. Bruce, a pleasure to talk to you. I just got back from Vegas last night. I was at the MGM, but I was thinking about you taking the concept of your brother's, Let's Get Ready to Rumble and incorporating it many years ago. First of all, what made you think of doing that? And how happy is your brother the fact that you did that and never thought about it so long ago? And last but not least, I think you're a little bit better than your brother now. You're hungry and you sound like Conor McGregor.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
I want you to say
All right,
something
Frank.
to your brother like you were taking him to the octagon. But go ahead, Bruce.
My brother to me is the legendary, the greatest announcer of all time. I mean, he set the pace and brought the attention to the ring announcer in the square circle of boxing. And, I respect that. And then when I saw the Let's Get Ready to Rumble, I was actually a fan of this man before I ever met him. And when they put his name on the screen during the fights, I was like, what is going on here? Because we didn't have the internet back then. We had phone books. And I never saw my name in a phone book, as we all naturally would do back then. So I was a huge fan when I met him, and I just saw so much greatness there that could be put into every form of sports and entertainment that I wanted to get behind it and just help direct his career and take him to the level he has gotten to and beyond. And it's really just a passionate, smart move business-wise, a passionate move because of my half-brother, Michael Buffer, and loving my brother the way I do. And we're family, and it's just I just set out to get it done.
Well, UFC 205 is tomorrow night, 10 p.m., for Madison Square Garden. It's on pay-per-view. Are tickets still available? Or
They just made some tickets available.
Really?
I read yesterday. I don't know where they are, but it was an article I read. It said some more tickets have been made available. So check Ticketron.
I was kidding.
No, check MSG, check Ticketron. But I've heard that these tickets, Octagon side, are going for $5,000 to $15,000 on the scalpers.
Amazing.
And this show, I'm sure people know, but before they went on sale to the public, this was sold out in 3 hours on a pre-sale.
Yeah.
It's like one of the fastest, if not the fastest selling events ever, and going to be the highest grossing event at Madison Square Garden. How big is that, guys?
Well, the weird thing is, if it did sell out in pre-sale, and now there's some tickets that I don't know what happens. Sometimes I think people have certain comps that they're not going to use, and they just sell them.
Spacing.
That
they
spacing,
figure out the
they can maybe move a
staging.
Videotron, and make another 100 seats available. I mean, who knows? It could
Plus,
be a
you guys have never worked Madison Square Garden before, so you don't know, the exact dimensions before you get there.
Well, speaking of never working it before, this is the biggest show in the history of the UFC. This is the pinnacle for the UFC in the United States of America. This is the pinnacle night tomorrow night for my career, walking out in the Garden, the most famous arena in the world. I'm just jacked, guys. So I might blow. I wish I had a third ACL. I want to blow another one.
I was about to say, let's
That's right. There's always your groin. There's other things you can injure.
Don't say groin, Jim. No.
Let's hope you maintain. I mean, watch the pay-per-view just to see if Bruce Buffer can maintain all his faculties. You know
there
what
we go.
Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
Dana, if you're listening, I'd like 10 cents a buy, please.
Thank you very much, Bruce Buffer. You can also follow Bruce Buffer on Twitter at Bruce Buffer, and you can go to brucebuffer.com if you want to get any of the custom intros.
Thank you.
Or anything like that. And we'll take a break?
Yeah, I'm going to piss.
All right, you go piss, and we'll be back with more Jim Norton and
Thanks,
Sam Roberts.
guys. You're great. I appreciate it.
Thanks.